I had a recent one-on-one that I thought the question that was asked was pretty good, and I think the answer I gave is not the most common answer, but I do believe it, so I want to share it here. The question was basically asking me, this individual noticed that they're always intellectualizing the law. Like I can explain it in a way that makes sense. And what I'm noticing though is that my explanations and my understanding of it seems to only be intellectual. I don't necessarily apply it, and when I do apply it, I'm realizing I don't necessarily need to be intellectual about it. But I'm always in my head about it. How do I get out of my head and apply the law? It's very common. This happened to me as well, especially if, but there's nothing wrong with being curious. You should always be asking questions. But there is truth in the fact that when you come to apply the law, questioning yourself, or there's nothing wrong with questioning, but when you start to question and doubt yourself, that's probably not the best. But my answer to that is, how do you get out of your head and start applying this well in your life, especially when it comes to yourself? Because when it comes to yourself, there could be a lot of self-doubt, a lot of worry. Maybe the issue is that you think the thing you want is so out of reach for you, so then you don't imagine it. Or when you do imagine it, it brings nothing but anxiety. And that anxiety just grows and grows and grows and creates even more havoc in other areas and extends to other areas. So how do we get out of this sort of problem mentally? And the best way that I have found to apply the law and to get out of your own head is actually to imagine for other people. That's the best way. It's the best way. If you start imagining other people having wealth, other people having success, other people having, especially the things you want, you'll find that when you'll realize how easy it is, you'll treat it very lightly for them. That will eventually extend to yourself. I've also had people tell me who have told this to do. I told people to do this. People who have done it have told me that over time, what they noticed is that, he goes, everything that I was imagining for other people eventually started happening for me. So I'd imagine something for them, and then I would bump into that in the future for myself. And so obviously there's a connection there that is worth exploring. But it's just in my view, because if you imagine for other people, you'll notice that you don't really over-intellectualize it. Especially if you care about the person, you kind of just accept it done, and you move on. And it feels good to imagine for other people. And if it doesn't feel good, you can learn how good it feels by just doing it. So maybe if it feels out of place, just try it. That's what I would say, is that if you feel like you're over intellectualizing everything, or you're being way too strict on yourself in the application of it, meaning that you're like forcing yourself to believe something, forcing yourself to affirm something, forcing yourself to think something, which creates nothing but exhaustion. Best route to take, in my opinion, is to actually stop imagining for yourself for a bit and just focus on other people. It doesn't matter who they are. They don't even have to know you did anything. You don't have to tell them. It could be someone you just bump into, you just notice needs something, is in need, and you just imagine for them. And you just start doing it throughout your day. In my view, that is the best way to apply this work. And you see this a lot in Neville's work, especially early in his work and later in his work. You'll see in his lectures, he's always speaking about imagining someone who is unemployed as if they're gainfully employed, and start seeing them that way, and persist in it. If they come to you the next day unemployed, you just see them again that way and go on with your day. What it does is that it teaches you how to practice this lightly. So people who over-intellectualize everything, they're just being way too harsh, and they're filled with too much self-doubt. And so it's hard to apply this lightly upon themselves. But if they start applying it for other people, they'll notice that they can actually treat it lightly. It's just that when it comes to them, for whatever reason, we don't really know, but there comes a block. They sort of block themselves. Neville used to say, don't pass the buck, right? And I think at times I've done that, and I've seen other people do that, where you want to imagine something for yourself, but then you think you'll pass on it. You'll say, no, not for me, but it's okay for other people to imagine it, but not for me. And yeah, you shouldn't do that. And again, the best way to go around it is you start imagining that thing for other people. That's the best way. So you don't do this to just be a morally good person. You're not doing it for the morals of it, although you can. And you're not doing it for the appearances. You're not trying to look good to people. You just do it. You don't have to tell anybody. The best thing to do is to not even, I mean, obviously you want to tell people you know so that you can see the result of it, but also do it for people you have no idea who they are. That way you don't do it for that. You're not doing it for the appearances. You're not doing it just to be seen like a good person. You're doing this because you want to practice the law correctly. And I just have found that if you do it for other people, it seems to bring change in their lives and in yourself. And then naturally you will find yourself imagining that very thing lightly and easily. You're no longer, and a lot of time intellectualizing, a lot of it is just self-doubt wrapped up in a word called intellectualizing. A lot of it's just a lot of self-doubt. So when people come to me and they say, well, I have in one part of my life, it's very easy for me to assume something. In another part, it's very hard for me to assume for that thing. And I said, well, let's stop focusing on the things real quick and focus on the self. The way I would reframe that is I would say in this one area in life, you have a lot of self-trust, a lot of self-belief. And in this other area, you have a lot of self-doubt. But you're focusing on the thing and you think the thing is the thing that's causing, that's the problem. But it's really your self-doubt and self-trust in these things. You see how when you focus on the self, you get a clearer picture than when you focus on the things itself. The things they almost blind you from seeing yourself in the equation. So a lot of times people, when they say that, it's just that they have less self-doubt or more self-trust in a certain area in their life versus others. And usually when people tell me that they have a hard time imagining something good for them, that it feels large for them, I say start imagining that thing for other people. Don't think in terms of scarcity. If you come at life with the idea that it's abundant, then imagine another person having the thing you want won't feel scary. It won't feel like you're going to get less. Think in terms of abundance. And then you'll start doing it naturally and easily. And so that would be my answer. It's not the most common answer because a lot of time the answer, ironically, I'm telling you not to focus on yourself in a way, but I'm trying to show you that if you imagine for other people, you can apply that same method to yourself eventually. And that's the goal. So yeah, that's all I had for this one. That's my answer to how do I stop over intellectualizing the law? Start imagining for other people. That would be my answer. And I say that from experience. I say that from telling other people to do it. And when they do it, they find that it works for them. And they start drawing into their life the things they're imagining for others. And yeah, that's the best way in my opinion. But yeah, that's all I have for this one. My books are out, and I want to appreciate everybody who's purchased my books. And I do live streaming. I do Q&As. I go deeper on these topics. I answer, some questions as well. And I do one-on-ones, and that's where this answer came from. So if you're interested in those things, just go to the description, and it'll all be there. But okay, guys. Thank you for giving me your time and your ear. Take care.